Kia ora te whānau. Welcome to another episode of the Misunderstood podcast. So, like every great designer, innovator, or founder has been misunderstood at some point in their lives by their clients, by the industry, even sometimes by themselves and their whānau. Misunderstood is about the stories behind the creatives, the struggles, the breakthroughs, the moments of doubt, and the resilience that has turned it all around. And I'm super excited to have the bro Gerrick Numan here as this week's episode. He's the founder and director of Millé. He's got a really incredible story as both being a founder, operator, as well as a designer. He's making some super exciting moves in his next chapter of the company as well that we'll dig into. So he's the director of Millé, a hospitality design studio that's gonna That's gonna shift now, right, into more of a education platform, a digital platform, right? Exciting. He's got over 20 years of experience in the hospitality industry. Gerrick has not only designed hundreds of venues, and he's also owned 4 on his own. Is that right? 4?
Yeah, 4 of them. Yep.
Make sure I get the research right. His journey began sort of in Melbourne, where he opened up and operated multiple cafes before realizing his passion lay in designing them rather than running them. This led him to retrain in design and eventually established Millé in 2017. Gerrick's approach is deeply rooted in understanding the operational needs of hospitality businesses, ensuring that every design not only looks great, but also functions and helps his clients to succeed. His work emphasizes creating spaces that are both aesthetically pleasing and operationally sound, reflecting his belief that every great design is foundational to a profitable venue. So kia ora, bro. It's like super cool to have you on the podcast today, bro. And I feel like this is probably one out of a mini series that we could be having good founder chats together, eh? So welcome, bro. Welcome.
Thank you. Not very happy to be on, and you nailed that intro. It does kind of represent who I am and what I believe in, so thank you.
Good, bro. It's so good, eh?
Yeah.
And like one of the things, I mean, I'd love to go into your story, but one of the things I really loved and really appreciated about you and who you like, how you think about your approaching your work is just how founder focused, how it's how results driven. And I often feel like that's such a powerful way to any venture to succeed, whether if it's in design or whether if you're developing software for a product. If we don't care about our clients, our products won't succeed. But yeah.
100%, man. I mean, I believe in that across everything. It's just being other people focused, right? Like, even when you're in a job and not being a founder, I mean, my last employer, I was always focused on him. Like, how can I make your business better? How can I make your life easier? And that's, transmits into this as a business. Like, how can I make our clients' lives better?
100%, bro.
I think it applies to whether I do this or whether you're designing iPhones or cars or desks or whatever. If it's great for the end user, then it's going to sell well, right?
Bro, why don't you take me way back? Like where do you fuck up to, bro? Where did you grow up? And what was your upbringing?
Dutch immigrant parents. Grew up here, went through school, went through university. I mean, it's a pretty familiar thing with immigrant parents that there's they want stability for their children, and so I think I was always a creative sort, but I don't really understand that as a way forward in life. So it was always more practical considerations when it came to education and the career way forward. So I started off studying commerce at uni, like a lot of people did. Then I dropped out of that and went into property, and I studied property. I'm racing through it all. Studied property. Go on.
What were you like as a kid, bro? Being the son of immigrant parents. What year did they move to Aotearoa?
I'm 42, and it was, I think, 3 years before that, so a fair few years ago. So as a kid, I guess I was pretty quiet, observational. It was me. All the stereotypical architect, interior designer things. When I did all my reflections way later in life to try and figure out my direction, it was loving Lego and loving SimCity, loving building models, all that sort of thing.
Where's get up to, bro? Like, what what were your mum and dad doing? Like, what year was it? Was it the 90s when you guys came to New Zealand, or the 80s?
80s. I was born here, so they came 3 years before I was born, or 4 years
Uh,
before I was born.
gotcha.
So it'd been early, I guess very late 70s.
Yeah,
If I was in 82, then yeah, late 70s they came over, and they're very resilient people. I'd say came over with very little English. I think the New Zealand government was keen to get people over here. I can't remember what the details were, but they got
yeah,
some sort of money either from them or from the Dutch government. They both had a sibling in Christchurch. They moved to Christchurch.
yeah,
Eventually, didn't really speak great English. Dad was trained in some sort
yeah,
of engineering. He used to work in, I don't know, for Shell and the refineries, kind of night shifts. Not in a
yeah,
very labor intensive job, but more of a monitoring sort of job over there. But came over here, no skills or no
yeah,
applicable skills and no real English. So he had to work in warehouses, shifting
yeah, bro.
boxes around.
Yeah. What about your
Eventually,
mum?
cut. I think mum actually worked in a cafe.
Yeah,
Um,
look at
yeah, yeah, I think some of that connection to hospitality probably came through
that.
here. Like I always enjoyed as a kid going to cafes because,
Yeah,
and it's something that still stays true to me. Like my love of hospitality is less about
yeah,
food. I don't really care about food and beverage that much. I'm pretty happy with a solid good. Um, I'd take a pill half the time if I could because I got too much to do.
yeah,
But I really like what hospitality can do to your mood
mm,
and what it provides to society. I love
yeah,
that you can feel a bit shit and then go sit in a cafe on your own and be around the activity and the enjoyment and then come out of there feeling a bit more connected and lifted up, even if you don't even talk to anybody, or maybe you did talk to the staff, and I don't know,
yeah,
just reconnects you with people. And I love how they provide a space for so many different occasions.
yeah,
Whether you're going on your first date, whether you're celebrating your grandmother's 80th birthday, whether you're hanging out with your mates, like
yeah,
they are such a special part of our life and our society. And I guess gradually as I figured that out and realized, I went from working in them to owning them to realize I didn't like doing that, to like I want to create them. I want to create that experience. And
yeah,
being able to then develop the skills to be able to do that,
yeah,
and actually not like Joe and Jane
yeah,
public can walk into a space and go, oh shit, I love this, or like, oh no, something feels wrong,
yeah.
but I can
Did
actually
you-
walk in and list it out, right? Like I know what's right, I know what's wrong.
I love it, bro. Like one thing I picked up you saying that was like you were the son of immigrant parents.
Mm,
Um, really interesting, like your dad had like he was a train engineer, but when he came
mm,
to Aotearoa, like a lot of that didn't, it wasn't valid anymore. Like it didn't
yeah,
translate. It was similar, for like I didn't know, bro. I didn't know you were a son of Dutch immigrant parents. That you came to New
mm,
Zealand. But like my parents were Chinese immigrants. They
yeah,
came to New Zealand in the 90s. My mum was a trained mechanical engineer. So when I was like, I came to New
yeah,
Zealand when I was 5. When she was from the age of sort of 1 to 4 before we came here,
mm,
we used to live in this like university polytech compound where you live and work and study at the same place. So she
yeah,
used to lecture mechanical engineering. I remember as a kid sitting in the lecture halls as she was lecturing mechanical engineering. And
mm,
my dad, like he did his like master's in geology, and he ran a
mm,
jewelry store. So in the weekends, I would go with my mum and watch him cut precious stones. But they they came to Aotearoa in the sort of like the mid 90s,
mm,
and they're surprised that a lot of their skills
mm,
were not recognized. And my parents grew up, in pretty poor conditions, and they were that
mm,
generation of people that turned their life around through education.
mm,
And when they came to New Zealand with like $2,000 in their pocket, no connections, bro,
mm,
realized that like their mana, like
yeah,
the education was sort of stripped away from them. My dad
yeah,
had to restart in the factories, and
yeah,
and the 90s wasn't the nicest
yeah.
place for friends, bro. I can't imagine what it was like in the 80s, eh?
No. Yeah, I honestly, having seen my parents and talked to other immigrants, I think immigration is almost an insane thing to do, because it just rips you away from all your history, all that you've grown up with and all that you know, and puts you in this strange place with strange customs. And that's almost a negative kind of way of looking at it. There's very positive ways to look at it as well. But, my parents are always torn between the two countries, right? They've built a life over here, but who they are and where they feel most comfortable is in Holland.
In Holland,
You know,
wow.
yeah.
Did you grow up feeling? Did you grow up as an immigrant? Feeling that sense of being like a third culture kid, or was it quite different for you because you were born here and like your parents would have established something themselves? Did you feel different, or did you feel quite comfortable like as a kid?
Probably a bit different. I mean,
Yeah,
Dutch people are very different to New Zealanders, right?
yeah,
And so, I was a New Zealander, but my parents were Dutch. So they weren't rugby heads. They weren't all the all the rest of it. Not all Kiwis are, but
yeah,
it's different music tastes, different dressing styles, different
yeah,
belief systems and values, and different ways of communicating. And
yeah,
uh, it's almost yeah,
yeah,
uh, yeah, it's
yeah.
a bit different. I mean, it'd be the same with Chinese. It'd be the same with heaps of different cultures, right? Like you're a little bit of 50-50.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that they call them like third culture kids, where it's like
Right.
you're not really local, you're not really from here because you weren't born here, or from a different culture. But I'm
Mm.
also not Chinese either because
Yeah.
I've been so
Mm.
far removed from China, and
Mm.
I love to. I went back I went back for the first time when I was 21, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
loved
True.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I really one of the biggest regrets I have was I really wish I retained my language and
Yeah.
to maintain how to read or write it. But
Mm.
it's a difficult language where if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah. It's wild. Yeah, it's super tough. Yeah, I've known Dutch pretty fluently, probably twice in my life, but
Wow.
I don't know what language, what dialect over in China you had, but Mandarin or whatever. It's a bit more useful these days than probably Dutch is. Whenever I go over to Holland and I try and talk Dutch to my cousins, they just laugh at me and speak perfect English.
That's awesome, bro. Like, what would you say, like, as a child, bro? Like, as a child, like, some of the immigrant parents, did you did you feel like you had some life experience or skills that was imparted on you in your childhood that you still, I guess, carry through today and help you see the world today?
I mean, on reflection, you don't know it as a kid, but on reflection, and I don't know if it's genetic, I don't know if it's learned, but that work ethic.
Yeah, bro.
I don't think I always had that work ethic.
Mm,
But by my mid-20s, when I felt like I was behind, I sure as hell put that work ethic in.
mm,
Um, and yeah, I've worked like a dog for the last 20 years. And that resilience, I think, I didn't
uh,
complete that story about my dad, but he
yeah,
worked like I said, he worked in warehouses, dragging
yes,
boxes around.
yeah,
But then, you know, some dude was hitting on my mum in the cafe, and his old man owned owned a tool distribution business, and some
yeah,
weird way, Dad ended up getting a job there, and
yeah,
then he worked his way up to a salesman, and then he worked his way up to head salesman, and then there was a bit of conflict within there. So eventually, Dad managed to get a license to sell a few products from some manufacturers, and he drove around the country selling stuff out of a car boot,
uh,
and then gradually sold more stuff out of the car boot and slept in the motels and ate cheap sandwiches and did all that and built up
yeah,
a decent importing distribution business after that.
yeah,
So just that classic kind of grinding, um
yeah.
got to make something happen immigrant story.
Did you so you kind of grew up, like in entrepreneurship a little bit, eh? Did you watch your dad? Did he get you to help him out? Did he get you to help you to do stuff? Or I mean,
Yeah, man,
it must.
I I packed boxes in the warehouse. I tried to sell some stuff to like different people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did some stuff for sure. And seeing them go from just different buildings and moving the business around and that sort of thing, and working in, again, like raising kids was different back then. You you didn't bring your kids to trampoline parks. You brought them to work and got them to do something.
Yeah. Can you imagine now today, bro? Put the kids to work.
Yeah. Shit. Yeah. I'm pretty keen. I think people are turning around on it though. Like raising their kids a bit different, like realizing that focusing on entertaining the kids all the time creates like kids that can't be bored and that sort of thing. So I think attitudes are shifting away from that now.
They say, bro, there's a reflection, bro. I don't know who said it, bro, but it's like, was it hard times make strong people, and weak, and good times like make weak people, eh? Like,
Totally.
I feel like hearing a bit about your fuck papa, it makes a lot of sense on who you are, like and I say that in a good way. Like, you're a very unconventional designer, more of a founder, and hustling. Like you really enjoy that hustle, and I think similar for me, bro. I did 5 years of architecture, right? And I went for a firm for 10 months. I'm like, nah, bro, this isn't for me.
I can't do this. Yeah.
I can't do this. And but what I did really enjoy is about solving a problem that was really important. And I still remember, like, I think it was like when I was going through uni, you had like tutors that were like established designers and stuff. I remember as like my 3rd or 4th year, or even as young as my 2nd year, I imagined myself doing what they were doing maybe 20 years down the line. And I remember university just feeling really bored and depressed.
Yeah. Totally, man. Totally. That's what happened with me after property, right? Like, studied property, went into the corporate office environment. I was like, I hate this so much. I can't do this. Yeah. I get it.
Really struggle too. Bro, I mean, this is like, I appreciate that, bro. This is like giving me some really interesting insights, like, and the beautiful thing about doing this, like, whakawhanaungatanga is, you have these connections where you didn't know previously that you had. So it feels like our upbringing has some similarities to them too. My mum was a hustler. My mum always wanted to start her own business, but she grew up in a generation where woman was looked down upon, and so I think she had lower self-esteem. But she made all the big decisions in our house, like purchasing a house, starting up, like education, like weekend education classes for the kids that she can make a buck too. She wanted to buy dairy for a long time, and credit ventures. I flipped and bought stock and stuff. My dad was stable. He was a stable character. Like, he worked in a factory, and he stayed in the factory. And because he wanted stability for us kids, and my mom was like the risk taker.
Nice.
So you went through like you got to tell me about like before you started your 4 hospitality brands. You said that you worked in property for a bit. How did that come about?
Well, because I did that Bachelor of Property. I'd always worked in hospitality from, I don't know, I think my first supermarket job was around 12, my first job was in a supermarket around 12, but then pretty soon after I started working in cafes. And worked in cafes and restaurants and bars, and did a catering. Yeah, that's right. I did a lot of event catering. And I did the Bachelor of Commerce, but it was too big picture for me. I guess I'm more of a boots on the ground, detail sort of person. So property just seemed a bit more interesting and practical. Like, it's the buildings that are right there that we live in and we work in. But then when it came to, the Department of Property was right next to the architecture department at Auckland Uni. And I had a few mates in architecture, and I was always a bit jealous of them. I didn't really know why. Again, I grew up in a very practical home, so that creative side of things wasn't exactly like supported or encouraged. Old man was very focused on, you got to make money, and he's right. Like, as a man now with 4 kids, man, that's my focus as well. And I gotta pay, I gotta feed, clothe, house, educate, entertain 6 bodies, right? Like, money's important, and people who say that money's important just have never not had any.
Right. how old were you when you like what was the circumstances that led you to start your very first, like hospitality? Was it a cafe? Was it a restaurant, bro? Like
Cafe,
what did
yeah. Well, I went through all that property stuff, got the jobs, hated it, went to Melbourne
you
and worked in hospital. I was pretty like I was rudderless and aimless in my early 20s, late teens. I wasn't a happy dude. Like, I don't know. I didn't have life figured out. I was pretty dark on things, for
yeah,
various reasons, and I don't really want to go into those reasons, but
right,
I didn't have a very good outlook on life,
yeah,
and so I just didn't have a direction, and it all kind of culminated. I think I was pretty close to 24, 25 or something, where I was just down in the
wow,
dumps, man, like low as they could get.
yeah,
Some pretty, serious outcomes to that. And it was just, I reached the rock bottom and I just was not happy with where my life is. And I just I had no other choice other than to change my worldviews and the
wow,
way I saw things. And, kind of a few things happened that just triggered a
mm,
reassessment of the way I saw the world.
mm.
Um,
You have good people around you sort of at the time? Did you have people that you would lean on for support that help you turn things around, or was it more kind of just you realizing that this is rock bottom? Like,
it was me. I mean, I'm a big, well, I had support around, you know, uh, for sure, around
mm,
certain elements. But I'm a
mm,
big believer of you can't help anyone, man. People have to help themselves.
mm,
Doesn't matter how much, you got to, stop people falling off a cliff for sure. And you can, do all that, but
mm,
you can't change anyone's life, man.
mm,
You can support them, you can provide resources, you can point them in the right direction, but there's 1,000 cliches around bringing
mm,
horses to water.
yeah,
So yeah, that's when I was first introduced to like success
yeah,
books and positive thinking books and all that sort of thing, and I just consumed it all like crazy. I read so much,
wow.
um, and
What were some of the ones for you?
I just all those classic old ones, whether it's like all those dated old ones that everyone used to read around the
Yeah,
kind of, well, I mean, they went back to the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, all the kind of Think and Grow Rich, all the Dale Carnegie's, the Win Friends, Influence People, plus all that Stephen Covey stuff,
mm,
whatever is one of the 7 habits of all that highly successful people, or highly effective people,
mm,
all those sort of books, just any sort of motivational, inspirational success sort of book. I just read or just ravenously consume them.
mm,
And then I instigated the actual kind of elements of it as far as like perseverance and resilience, and like, just like I took up running and I'd force myself to run further than I thought I could. And then I just kept on doing it. Same with push-ups and swimming. And I just forced myself at all
yeah,
times to do more than I thought I could.
yeah,
Um, And yeah, so that was around 25. And then I just felt like I didn't want to be in New Zealand. So I went back to Australia. I'd spent a bit of time working in Australia and Hospo before that, before coming back to
mm,
New Zealand. So I went back over there and started working in restaurants and cafes again, and worked heaps and tried to save money and live cheap. And I actually kind of got early to the game of trying to sell compostable takeaway packaging for restaurants and cafes. And I used to ride around because I didn't have a car, didn't have the money for a car.
yeah,
I'd kind of bottomed out and ride
wow,
around on bicycle with these 2 bags of like recycled or like compostable stuff on my
wow.
handlebars, trying to sell stuff to cafes.
This was when you were 25, 26, was it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
something around that. Hey, yeah, I was just like, I was
yeah,
starting again, man. Like, yeah, it was
yeah,
wild. Um, and it
wow,
was just one of those things, like like ignoring the voice in the head and just pushing forward. We've all got it, man. The point
yeah,
is not to let it get you.
yeah,
So yeah, doing that and then kind of bottoming out on that, and it didn't really work and wasn't the
yeah,
right time and couldn't get the right suppliers on that, and then managed to figure out a way how to open up a real basic cafe with a mate.
Was he? What did you have to do to get that off the ground? Like, did you have to put some investment in it yourself?
Yeah, borrowed some money off a few family members who
Yeah.
did as well. Used a mate that was a landscaper to be our contractor, did ignorantly or just, I'm 99% sure it was very illegal what we did, like from a compliance and building consent point of view. Didn't get the right permits, got some of them but not the others, and just got it open, right? Again, just worked like crazy, man. God, I used to work a lot throughout my late 20s and 30s. Yeah, I just every waking moment was a massive to-do list with constant work on it.
Hospitality is the same, right? Yeah.
Just anything, right? Like it was just like get it open, and like how the hell do you get it open? I mean, I hope opening a hospital venue is like it's 2,000 things that have to be done to get it done. Anyway, did that, didn't work. It's my best mate, right? Like, yeah, go on.
What led the circumstance? Like, what happened sort of to the first brand that you guys built, and what did you learn from it? Yeah.
Built it, didn't get the food offering right.
Yeah.
Coffee offering was good. We weren't that experienced with food. I'd say I was overly focused on margin and cost and efficiency, but not correctly focused on producing a product that people would want. And then our communication as young men wasn't direct and clear enough, and so that led to conflict. And that, eventually I just wanted out, and I didn't communicate the way I wanted out in the best possible way, and it fractured our friendship for probably 3 years. We didn't really talk to each other. I just had him over for, he's the godson of our latest baby, so his best. We sorted it all out, but
I started critical of my best mate, and I think he wanted out, and because in hindsight, he was really driven, to be a great teacher, and he's a school principal, and he's just killing it, amazing job. But when you're really good friends and you're working on a bit together, that split feels like a divorce, bro? Because it feels like a marriage, right? Like it's business.
100%.
We still catch up on a regular, today, even since, even after he left, and that's good, bro. Good on you for like that relationship. Well,
yeah, I mean, I think it was John D. Rockefeller, that said something along the lines of make friends after being in business, but never go into business with friends.
There's wisdom in that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it works or it becomes a problem every time. I'm sure there's plenty of successful businesses with mates, but I mean, there's all sorts of sayings around. Keep money and friendship separate because fuck.
Can muddy the water a little bit. I can do that. I heard one of my good reflections is that like to keep the friendship, write a disagreement. So that you can keep the friendship. Write the agreement. You're not friends, so that you can can remain friends. Yeah.
Totally, bro. Totally, 100%.
So you did that first one. You wanted out.
Yeah.
Bro, what happened next?
Yeah, got out of it, got the money, and opened up another one.
Wow.
I was like, I've learned all my mistakes. I'm gonna nail this. And like, did it all, opened up the new one. It actually went off with a boom, but I made some of the same mistakes again. I screwed up the food. And so I just didn't nail the food. It's just a skill set I didn't have properly. I tried to fudge it and I didn't. And then the pressure of money, the fear of failure, I just shrunk it all back down to a manageable size. So it was a small venue.
How old were you, Gerrick?
How old?
I mean,
that's probably, I don't know, maybe 27 or something.
Wow. Yeah.
Actually, can I jump back to one other thing? Because this is a big part of my story. When I was down on that very low point, and so I might have, with the second cafe, be more like 28 or something, because when I was in that low point, like I said, I was consuming all those stories, all that positivity, all that, success books, but I was also reading a lot of quotes from people. And I was also like looking up a lot of stories about people that had failed and then succeeded. And, it's such again, it's almost a cliche because almost all successful people have been hammered at some point in their life when there's just what they wanted to do hasn't worked. And I eventually came across the quote that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Yes.
And it just really sunk in with me. I was like, oh, right, all right. I hate where my life is now, but I can't have it overnight. It's just not going to happen. It's not reality. So I'm going to give myself 1,000 days to get to success. So I set myself a goal, 1,000 days to success. And I kept a diary of that. And I wrote in there every single day. And I've still got it. And it's all the ups and downs. Anyway, the beginning of that was moving over to Australia. So part one was opening up that cafe. Well, first part was doing that compostable business. That didn't work. Then it was doing the cafe, and I was moving quick, right? So I was failing fast. And so opened up the second cafe, opened with a boom, did all the marketing right, did all the street presence. It looked okay, but designed and opened it all myself, got it all built. Did everything and sold the dream to all the staff, and then all of a sudden turnover's not great, costs are too high, got to get rid of everyone, fucking painful experience. And then I'm just sitting there. It's a pretty small space, right? It's about, I think it's 40 square meters inside, but it had room for like 40 seats because we had 20 people outside on a undercover north facing footpath. Cut the team right down until it was just me producing the coffee and food, and I made a good coffee and I was personable, so I had a coffee trade and I can make some simple food, but it was just enough to survive, right? I'd work 80 hours a week plus 100 hours a week because I'd get up at 5, I'd go produce the stuff, or maybe I think I was getting up at 4, and I'd do all this kind of study and preparation and planning, and then I'd work in the cafe, then I'd close it, and I might have a nap on the ground, and then I'd try and do some work to improve the place and do all that, and then I'd be finished at like 10 or 11, and then I'd be back up at 4 again. But anyway,
those are, bro, I was just, as I'm reflecting on that story, those are like like that's your like rite of passage, into entrepreneurship, isn't it? And like even that low time when you felt really low and not knowing what you want to do, or if the place that you are in at the moment, what you were in your early 20s, at the time was the right place. Bro, those are like the moments that define who you are, define who we are. Like but there's two books I've recently read. I read through. One is there's one book called The War of Art.
I heard about that.
Stephen Pressfield, and one of the things that he talks about is that two things I got out of it. One was that he talks about that resistance is evil. Resistance is the root of procrastination. Resistance is that thing where you're like, I really should be doing this, but I don't feel like it today. That in itself is actually evil in terms of stopping our potential to how what we were made to do, really. And the second thing I really love what he said about is that he talks about that the thing that you are the most self-conscious about, the thing that you doubt about yourself the most, am I good enough to be an entrepreneur? Do I really have what it takes to build $1 billion company? Like, can I actually make a product that people will love? Like, the more his challenge is that the more you often hear those voices, those are actually invitations for you to do the exact things. So those are actually invitations for you to do exactly what you think that you can't do is the path that you should do. I found those reflections super helpful. And like, bro, the start of the year, bro, I don't know about you, but the start of the year has been fucking shit this year, bro. As a business or co-founder, sales are just slow, and like there's a bit of a slowdown in the economy. So my book I've been reading like this year is Ryan Holiday's The Obstacle is the Way. It's like it's the hardest path is often the path that we need to choose in order for us to do something meaningful in the world, so that for me is and when you tell these stories, bro, I really resonate with them, bro. As founders, my own feeling in my 20s, so I resonate with them, bro.
Awesome. I'm glad, man. Yeah, because we all go through it, right? Like just and what feels like pretty insane punishment. We just gotta like just handle, man. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't
I'd
know.
also accredit that, listening to your story about an immigrant parents, watching
Mm,
your mum and dad hustle,
mm,
like, bro, those are the lessons, man. Like, it's the same
mm,
for me, watching my mum and dad hustle. We grew up
mm,
with no money,
mm,
and but those are actually lessons that we've internalized that actually becomes our biggest advantages, I'd say, as founders.
mm, mm.
Yeah. So those moments of the deep valleys, like the valley of the shadow of death, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are the places of often can be our greatest strength for our resilience.
100%, man. I mean, I've climbed out of disaster,
Yeah,
I think 3 times now.
yeah,
I can handle anything, man.
yeah, bro. We got hit by a tornado the day after we set up the factory, after
Yeah.
investing what $500,000, everything
Wow.
into it.
Yeah.
And I was like, and we rebuilt in 6 months with no money. And I'm like, fuck,
Yeah.
if I can,
Yeah.
if I can get through a tornado, everything else is relative, right?
Exactly, man. Exactly. It's all in your
Yeah,
head, bro. Like,
yeah.
everything's in
But
your head.
it doesn't make
Yeah.
it easier, doesn't it, bro? It feels tough, eh? The emotions are low. You still feel
Mm.
everything.
Yeah, 100%. But I don't know. What
Yeah,
changed my life much later on, or I'll go back to the story, but what changed my life much later on was actually finding this. I don't know if he was a psychologist or what's the other one, psychiatrist or whatever, but he's got a private practice, right? And he's a remarkable person, extremely eccentric and not for everyone, but it really worked for me. He worked for years within prisons as a psychologist, and he came to the realization that all these people that commit these horrific crimes of whatever,
yeah,
murdering their children, their partners,
yeah,
just lashing out at people, they're often actually quite nice people. Not in that moment, and you're not saying they're good people, but like they're just people that have snapped in a moment and done something horrific. And
mm,
it's their brains or themselves letting their brains kind of take control. And he frankly, he doesn't believe in mental health problems.
yeah.
He
Wow,
thinks we've just labeled it and supported it, but really all we need is to be able to manage our brains, because
wow.
we all know about, the lizard part or the amygdala, whatever the technical
Yeah,
term for it, that we've all got that small part of our brain that tries to destroy us,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And that part of our brain was super effective back in the day when we needed it to protect us
yeah,
from insane wildlife, but these days it's pretty useless because compared to the vast majority of us in a developed world have got relatively, relative compared to misery, relatively easy lives.
mm,
And so that part of that brain is bored and it just attacks us
mm,
instead.
yeah,
And we need that part of our brain in emergency. That's the part of
yeah,
the brain that jumps up and just like solves a problem when there's something coming towards us.
yeah,
But 99% of the time, it's just sitting there screwing around and trying to mess with us.
yeah.
And so once I learned to label that and name that and make fun of that and not let it take control,
Yes.
life's pretty straightforward. In the
Yeah.
sense that, yeah, it's even like that comedian Bill Burr. I remember seeing something
Yeah.
about him just going, hey, look, something hasn't happened yet. Why bother making it happen twice? Sure. Like,
Yeah.
like, because you make it happen twice, right? All the worry, oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's all going to go
Yeah.
downhill. Oh, I'm going to lose it all. So, well, just wait until that actually happens and then worry about it. There's no point
Yeah.
worrying about it twice.
I
Anyway,
love
I don't know.
I
Yeah.
love that, bro. I think a similar reflection I've got is like I think I saw a counselor in my
Mm,
20s. I saw a pretty good I saw a couple of good counselors, bro. But I
mm,
was investing in my own mental health. And one of the things one of my counselors said to me is that like he goes like the mind is a place of its own. It can
mm,
create a heaven out of hell or a hell
mm,
out of heaven.
mhm.
And oftentimes we suffer in our imagination, right?
Yeah,
Like not to say that the external circumstances isn't difficult and it isn't real, but
totally.
it's the first is suffering in our mind.
Yeah,
um because like really, right, bro, like I'm like, for example, I'm like I'm stressed about revenue, I'm stressed about growth, I'm stressed about all these
yeah,
things, but how much does that actually, those fears actually affect my life in the next, you know 4 to like 3 to 4 months? not a lot really, but I let it. Like I let that control and I let that dictate. As you say, if you've given it a name and you can really easily show it to the side. Another thing I really love, bro, I love this other reflection by this author called Elizabeth Gilbert, and she talks about like it's like our mind is like we're in a car, right? And you've got anxiety, you've got ambition, you've got fear, and you've got love, for example, right? And but so her reflection is that like fear and ambition always has a place in the car, but it does not get to sit in the front seat. It does not get to drive, choose the music to play. And his view is often is that like there's a place for fear because it's helped carry our ancestors from survival. It's there to look after us, but we don't need it to look after us in that way. And yeah, I found that pretty cool. Yeah.
Totally, 100%, man. And you'll find, yeah, I mean, I certainly was in my early 20s. I let that stuff consume me, and that's why I ended up, where I was at. And you'll probably find that vast majority of people in those sort of states have done that to themselves as well. Yeah, no fault of their own half the time. It's kind of, what they learn or what they've been told or whatever it is. But
so you had your second cafe, right?
Yeah.
You've done what's next, bro? You're working 80 hours.
Yeah, it's kind of hell, right? Like it's shameful. Like people walk past, they don't look me in the eyes, because they used to come, and now that it doesn't work, they don't want to come because they don't want to be, involved with failure. And plus there's also some really nice people that come in and support me all the time and that sort of thing. And anyway, I grind it out. I'm constantly looking for inspiration, constantly looking for people to teach me, what to do. And I discover that one of my customers is the ex-CEO of Boost Juice over there, which is kind of like the tank juice of Australia, hundreds of stores, and then one of the founders of Grilled, which is like the burger fuel of over there, again, dozens and dozens of stores. And I'm like, oh, hey man, I saw it because I just saw an interview with him. I was like, oh, hey man, I saw that you do this, and could you give me some advice? Because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm failing. And so he gave me some advice, and he caught up with me, and he was like, oh, you should have a sandwich board out the front. And that night I was off to Bunnings and buying some plywood and some blackboard paint and some hinges and screws and string and building an A-frame. And the next morning I had it out there, and he was like, oh, well, great. He knew how hard I was working, and you could see that. And anyway, I did that over and over and again, right? He'd give me ideas, I'd do them. And then eventually he was like, oh, you should put a banquette in, you should get a display fridge, you got to improve your street presence, you should do this to the lighting. I was like, mate, that'd be awesome, but I've got no money. And he's eventually came around, he's like, well, I could invest in you, and you give me some of the business. So he gave me a small amount of money, took a bit of the business, he mentored me, gave us an action plan. We did all the things on the action plan, then we did a bunch of marketing. And 3 months after we started, I think, we had, maybe it was 3 or 4 months, who knows, 5 times the revenue.
Wow.
Yeah, it's nuts. He taught me everything about it. He told me that hospo is no one thing. It's not your service, it's not your food, it's not all of that. It's all the 1%ers that add up. It's your service, your food, your lighting, your music, your street presence, your menu mix, your cost control, everything that adds up to create an environment that people walk into and they go, fuck yeah, I love this and I want this and I want to come back. Or they walk in and go, something's weird and wrong. And I don't like this. So he taught me everything. We did that, 5 times the revenue, and all of a sudden, boom, the bank account's going up, and I'm having a great time.
Wow.
Yeah. At the same time, I've got been dating a girl, and we're getting closer and closer, and eventually propose. And that's going well, and then we go find another bigger venue, which is an ex-tire warehouse, and we open that up, and that's day one, man, just queues out the door. 80 seats, 80 to 100 seats, and then just queues out the door from day one, just hammering it, and it's amazing. Finally. And I think the day after I opened that venue, or somewhere around that time, day after makes the story better, right? Or close to it, I got married, and I opened up that super successful venue. It was sometime around 1,000 days. So bringing it back to that journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single set. success takes time. I gave myself 1,000 days, basically 3 years, and within 3 years, I was married and owned a super successful business. And that was sick, but that was not. It didn't all finish great. But I had hit that massive achievement and done it right. Like it was
That's incredible, bro.
Yeah, it felt good. It gave me. Didn't fix everything because it took me years to fix everything. But
bro, talk to me. Talk to me about that journal. So you have a journal, right? Well, you had a journal at the time. You had a journal, and you had a goal that you defined in 1,000 days. What did you define as your goal in 1,000 days?
I just called it success.
Success.
I wanted success in 1,000 days. And like, I had all these dreams of have 100 cafes in 10 years. I can't remember what the specific goal was by 1,000 days. It was just have a successful life. And so I wanted a successful business. I think I probably put numbers around like income or, income amount and, have a kid and be married and all this stuff. And I didn't hit everything, but I hit success.
What would you say if you give yourself a percentage of what you wanted and what you hit? Did you, did you say that?
I'd say 100% in a sense, like, because I took myself from nothing to being successful, and that felt great.
Wow.
But it wasn't the answer.
And the relationship you had with the journal, you mentioned to me that you had a journal that you would document every day. What did that journal look like? What did you do at the end of each day, and how did that change over the course of those 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny looking back on it. Like, sometimes it's desperate and miserable, and it's like really fighting against the feeling of I'm never going to be able to do this. Other days, it's just filled with like copy and pasted quotes to give myself motivation to keep on going and to accept and realize that this isn't easy, and accept and realize that millions or thousands of people have been through the same struggle.
Wow, bro. Do you still keep a journal today?
Nah.
You don't keep a journal
today? I got no time. No, I could do it. It's fine, but I don't need it.
That's incredible, bro. So you built this successful business, right? And then you got it. The venues are working. You got married, bro. You hit your 1,000-day goal. Freaking congratulations. What happened afterwards, bro?
I don't know how long afterwards. I think less than a year, but by then I was burned out, right? Like I'd taken every part of me and used it up. I worked so much. I didn't have anything outside of work. I remember one day going home just because my business partners told me I had to, and I'd just lie on the couch and turn on the TV. I hadn't turned on the TV for years. I never did anything outside of fitness and work. And I'd never been on the couch. Anyway, I was burned out, and I wasn't getting along with our new business partner because I felt like he was too harsh. I was always and I've learned to find a balance there now. I mean, I've been screwed over by people a lot because I often see the good in people. I've become a little bit more hardened recently, very recently.
Okay.
But
I can relate to that too. So yes.
Yeah. It's see the best in people, but after time, you get burned enough, you start to keep that just for the people closest to you. The rest of you have to earn my trust.
It's a bit of a balance, bro, to maintain a soft posture of your heart, to still be open to people and opportunities. But you've got a few scars. You also know there's a process now, right? There's a process to ensure that I'm also not going to be like stupid about silly opportunity. It's going to lead to burnout.
Being taken advantage of.
Taken advantage. So you did this, bro. So you've got you felt a bit burned.
Anyway, end up selling the shares in those businesses and made a good amount of money, which was great. And then along the way, or like earlier in my 20s, I'd done a bit of I discovered that I had that creative skill set, right? So I'd done a bit of drawing and painting, and I was like, oh fuck, I'm actually really, really good at this, and naturally talented, and I got a lot of positive feedback. And so I thought, I've got some cash in the bank, I'm going to pursue like a bit of a fine arts direction. I'm going to be an artist, and so I went down that path, and I really went for it.
Yeah.
But eventually I realized, and I'm not made that way. I'm more part practical, part creative, not all creative. I wasn't nuts enough to be an artist, and I'm not shitting on artists here, but like, it takes a certain commitment to be able to. There's a lot of insecurity in that life, and I need more security. So I went down that path, and then I thought, oh well, I'll open up another cafe, and I'll use that cafe to provide an income.
I love it, bro. Yeah.
So I can do the art.
New
But
Zealand,
then it's still in Australia. Yeah. Opened that cafe, and I was gonna open the first day, and I panicked.
Hey.
I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. And like, I told the staff not to come in. I lied. Said there was some sort of problem or something, and the utilities or something. And I drove around, and I spent all this money, or most of my money, on opening. I didn't have a choice, right? I had to do it. And so I opened it, and it was fine. It was hard work. Didn't go that. It wasn't an instant success. And I'd spent the time working on it to get it there. And if I would have got it there, but at that time, it'd been a few years. I think it'd been a couple of years since I'd sold the last one. And my marriage was also faltering. Like, it didn't last long, that marriage. I think we were together total when we were married 2 years. And I just knew from day one that I'd built myself a prison with that cafe.
Wow.
I fucking hated it.
Shucks, bro.
And a lot of people will know that. A lot of people's businesses feels like prisons to them. The business owns them. But also, I don't know, realizing you're putting your ladder up against the wrong wall, because success is hard, right? It took me so much to succeed in those first ones. And I could have made that one like a massive success as well, but the effort required, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Not do it. And so I eventually sold that as well.
Wow.
And then the marriage ended, and then I moved back to New Zealand, cap in hand again.
Wow. Shucks, bro. What a journey, bro. What a journey. Man. And was that around sort of the time when the seed of Millé began for you, bro?
Yeah, it took a bit of time to get there. But that's where the seed of that came from. So that was that realization of, all right, I put my ladder up against the wrong wall. I can't do this. Success is hard. I have to know who I am before I do this. I have to choose something that I love. If you look up all the books or everything, they'll tell you to find a business or an industry or something that you have a passion and interest for, because it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. And when it's hard, you have to have an interest bigger than financial. I'm not saying that, I mean, there are opposite thoughts for some people. They're like, find a boring business and do it because the money is what makes it interesting. Because when you're making things, like, no one gives a shit about passion. If you're bringing in $1 million a year, you're pretty happy about it. Of profit. But having an interest is an important thing, and that is a pretty resounding piece of advice across a lot of entrepreneurs and business people, and anyone in life really that succeeds at what they do, is actually having an ongoing interest on it. So I read a lot of books. Like, there was a great one called What Color Is My Parachute? That was awesome. I did a lot of like personality testing, all the MBTI stuff, the Myers-Briggs stuff, all the Enneagram stuff, all of that.
Did you come out of curiosity on the Enneagram, Gerrick?
What is it?
Enneagram is 9.
Enneagram. I think I was around the 4 type thing. I think.
I thought so. Like a 4, you probably is a 4 with a 3 wing or a 3 with a 4 wing.
Something like
Because
that. Yeah, I don't know enough about it right now, but yeah.
I reckon probably more like a 3 of a 4 wing. I'm the same. Like core motivation is about wanting to accomplish something big, like success driven, achievement driven.
Yeah.
And which is why that, you know, it's that you're drawn to creativity. Well, I'm drawn to creativity, but I can never like, it can't just be the thing. Like I want to be a part of changing the world or be a part of building something that's really cool. Yeah, I thought about that, bro, as I was listening to your story, bro. I wonder if we have a very similar enneagram. Yeah, but you keep going.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, and that was it. Landing on. So I did all that work to figure it out. And then going back through my backstory, like again, there's all these exercises you can do. You can find them in books. You can find them online. Going back and looking back.
Yeah. You went through a journey of like self-rediscovery, yeah, bro. Sort of.
That was it.
So in your sort of early 30s at this time, or
it was early 30s. Yeah.
30s,
and I was working a job over here, just measuring houses for real estate marketing. So I just got a job that was mindless. So go around houses, put a tape measure around, measure them up, and create a floor plan. And because I've always been of the belief if you're going to do a job, you owe it to your employer to put your mind to it. And I didn't want to take a serious job because that would require all of my energy. Whereas that I could kind of go around and do it and think about things in the car while I'm driving around, listen to podcasts, create notes, blah, 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 blah. Did that. I went, all right, cool. I want to land it on, went back to things I loved. Bring back that story of like going to restaurants, cafes, bars. Why do I love them? Thinking about the story as a kid, what I like doing as a kid, playing with Legos, putting things together, liked being in cafes with my mum and feeling the atmosphere. I've always worked in hospitality. I was like, okay, cool. I want to design them. Jealous of my mates when they were at their architecture school, the one part of the property degree I enjoyed doing was drawing up the floor plans on the occasional kind of development projects we had to do. And so like picking all these things off, and then that what color is your parachute has this great flower diagram about your career and what makes up it. It's the work you do, the people you work with, the income you have, the sort of environment you're sitting in or working in, the impact you want to have, and all of those things come together to create something. And then, there's that other diagram about what you love, what the world needs, what you can get paid for, and that center point. And, landed, realized I could do the design side of things and wanted to do that. But also, I'm not going back to fucking university and studying. Screw that. So I taught myself all the software on just on YouTube and on the couch, and just taught myself AutoCAD at that time and SketchUp, and just figured it out. And then did a free online course provided by the government. I can't remember what it was called, about interior design. It was like based down in Dunedin, but I could do it online, and kind of did the free course to learn the language. And then through that course, they made you kind of interview with a existing operator, like a design studio owner. And so I found someone that I liked and respected and liked what they did, and I talked to him, and I gradually built up a relationship with him over a period of a few months. And then eventually he had a job opening, and I talked my way into that. And I said to him, I was like, hey, look, I can say whatever I want, right? Like I can sell you the dream and tell you how good I am, but that doesn't mean anything for you. And this goes back to that, like thinking about other people and putting yourself in their shoes and being other people focused. I was like, how about I just come work for you for free for 2 weeks, half days. I'll do my other job, the other half. And at the end of those 2 weeks, if you're keen on it, you hire me. If you're not, all good. No feelings hurt. And then when he did it, he said yes. And then just worked like nuts. He was like, oh, Gerrick, can you do this? I was like, yeah, I can do that. And then run off, like, fuck Google, how do I do this? How do I do this? And just like figure it out.
How many years were you there for, bro? Did you end up there
Three. I worked my way up from like doing an admin thing to gradually being his 2IC, and then doing design work. And so I learned everything about design and how to run a design business.
How long did it take for you to restudy and do the courses, teach yourself like SketchUp and ArchiCAD? How long did that take you, bro?
I don't know. It would be 3 months, 4 months, 5, 6. I don't know, something like that. 2 months.
Yeah, yeah.
Did all that,
Well,
and then reached kind of a ceiling there.
yeah,
He didn't want to take me on as a partner.
yeah.
I kind of, and then some of the designers there were just a bit snobby. I wanted to do the design work, and they'd look down on me because I hadn't done a Master of Architecture. I was like, man, fuck you. I've
Bro,
done all this.
like I tell
Yeah.
you, like we grew up from humble immigrant parents, bro.
Yeah.
And I got a scholarship into University of Auckland, bro, to do that study
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Fuck, like I stepped in there, like I went into architecture school thinking it's gonna be great. I'm gonna find friends and we're gonna care about big problems. But I found myself probably in sort of like a school of elite rich kids that were snobby, and were pretty. Not all of them were like that, and we got along with them well. But I burnt out, bro. I burnt out in 3 years and hit a parked car, and snapped my collarbone and ruptured my bell, and I took a year out. That's my incident only sort of work, but bro, like I know exactly what you mean. It's like different world, from to enter into from someone that comes from a bit more of a humbler upbringing kind of thing.
Yeah, it's wild.
But I mean, for you, like, I mean, it's ironic because if that's how, if that was the perception, because you've done so much, bro, in your 20s and to failed and learned and failed and built and exited on businesses, bro, but it's interesting, I find that interesting. Like,
yeah, I don't know. A lot of people are challenging.
Yeah. So you then went off, and that's how you started Millé, right? Taking all of that experience, taking all of that experience, putting your customers at the center, all of those learnings from your own hospitality sort of space. One of the things I want to talk to you about at the start of this podcast was you've done that for a few years now, bro, and it's gone really well, helping other people in hospitality. Bro, like, what are you working on right now? Like, you just told me that you've pivoted to a big shift.
Yeah,
what
massive shift. So
Yeah.
Millé was hard work, and it's been great, but like it's been 7 years deep. I've designed, we've done over 400 hospital venues throughout the country, but I feel like there's more, and I've got this skill set, and this you've heard about this full experience, right? So what I'm working on now is I've been trying to find a way to digitize this, and I've found it. So I'm developing up a online course to teach hospital operators how to design their own venues.
Nice.
And what that looks like is teaching them how to use simple 3D software, SketchUp, teaching them how to create a concept based on their business values and who their customers are. So a visual concept, materials, furniture, etc. Then applying that concept to that 3D model, and then being able to then put that in some simple drafting software, which is layout, and then producing a set of pages that can then communicate that to a contractor to get it done. And I've done a bunch of trial versions of this. I put out an email to, I think, 80 people, and I went, hey, 80 people that didn't use our service at Millé because it was too expensive.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm thinking about doing this. And 20 of them came back, 25%, and said, fuck yeah, please.
Wow.
And so did that first round just to try and figure out what people want to know, and then did another round of it to figure out what people know. And right now I'm in the process of building the highly professional final product to basically give people a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 option of learning all of these skills that I have to design their own venue.
Wow.
Instead of spending 15, 20, 30,000, 40,000 with a designer that has no idea about hospital.
Yes, they are the expert. The owner of the expert.
Yeah, bro. But they just need this slight skill development, which I can teach them. And then all of a sudden they're in control again. Like so many operators go through with the designer, and they have to give control over to the designer because they've got the skill set. But then they lose control over the important things of operational efficiency, budget management, and we were talking about it earlier, so many hospo fit outs are over designed. Like, it doesn't fucking matter the design awards to whether your venue is busy.
Yeah.
What matters is it's an environment that makes sense to your customers, that your customers want to be in, like makes sense to the concept. Like, obviously you can't do a bright, colorful, crazy thing for a fine dining concept, or maybe you can. You'd have to be pretty refined, but you know, your brand and your interior need to make sense, and then it has to be operationally efficient with enough space for the kitchen production, enough seats to be able to turn over enough, or you know, to do enough takeaways. And so that is what I'm trying to teach people, how to create their own interior. It's not covering all the compliance stuff because you can't do all the building consent stuff. That's way too technical, but you can design it all. It's more for renovations of existing spaces. But if you want to take over a new space and do it, you can design it all yourself, along with a draftsperson that understands the building code and skilled contractors that understand the building code.
Wow.
Whether it's here in Australia or in the UK or the USA or Canada or wherever, it's all the hospos the same shit all over the world.
Bro, this is crazy. Like, am I like when I finished uni, bro? Like, like I sort of took the view that like people are the experts of their own spaces, and us as designers, it is not our decision to make for them to override how they think about it. So I remember, bro, I was like 23, my last year of uni. My thesis was like an antithesis to architecture and design. It was like instead of like, we shouldn't, as designers or professionals, we shouldn't be making these decisions for people. They should be making it themselves.
Totally.
And so for us, I was like, how can we use 3D printing? Can we just build the infrastructure and allow people to build and self-assemble themselves? And yeah, and it was like, bro. So I got my uni, like, right. This is back in the uni days. I got my grades. The grades took like a year. Then I was like, guys, I want to close this chapter off. And I remember still, bro. I was 22, 23. I had two examiners come back to me. One was like, Rory, what you've written was offensive to architects. You should have never been in design school. And your report is meandering. There's no point. There's no purpose. I didn't even know how you went into school. Blah 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 blah. You wasted your your year on thesis. Fail. And then the other guy was like, that guy got offended, bro. I didn't even know why. And the other guy was like, this is the best thing I've read in 30 years. Give this guy an A+.
Whoa, that's wild, eh? Yeah.
So it was like, bro, you know, like, we'll give you a C+ and you can pass, and we'll call it that. And I was like, okay, sweet. And that was like one of those moments where I'm like, you know, like, I don't want to spend 8 years of my life getting registered to know that the whole industry changes after that. There's got to be something else out there, and critical community and doing it simple, bro. I feel like in my 20s, real meandering, just, you know, trying to figure myself out, to trying to find what works. So,
totally, 100%, man.
Where
You
do you
got to
want to
figure yourself out.
What is your vision, bro? Like, where do you see this platform that you're building? You know, what is the change you want to make in the world, bro, with this thing that you're building right now?
I just want to help hospital operators. I want to help me when I was doing this.
Yeah.
You know, like, if this had been available to me, it would have just made things so much easier. I let a painter convince me at one point to stain a timber wall a certain color, and I walked in, I was like, oh fuck, that looks so bad. And then I had to spend like $3,000 to get it sanded back and fixed because it was terrible. But if I'd had the skill set, I could have gone click, click, click and gone, nah, that doesn't work. And I don't know, just I do know. I just want to make the hospital's hard, man. It costs so much to open up a venue. It costs so much. And it doesn't have to. It's because people clip the ticket everywhere and everything gets escalated, and a lot of it's unnecessary. And all it is a bit of education, a bit of skill, and you can have control again. So my goal for it is just for it to be, international. Make it I've got a small revenue target that I feel like I can hit relatively straightforwardly, so I can support, financially support my family the way I want it to be.
Wow.
And then thereafter, it's money on top, right?
Have you written yourself another 1,000 step?
Nah, I'm just gonna make it happen, man. Like, I don't know. I've been through so much hell that I haven't spoken about here that
Yeah.
I know how to make shit happen now. And
Yeah.
I've tested it, and it's not, there's a demand for it. I just have to I don't have to make a perfect product. I have to make a solidly really good product, and then I'll improve it.
Yeah.
And then just get it out there and market it.
Yeah. Bro, love it. Bro, I'm genuinely inspired, bro. Like I'm genuinely inspired today. Like having this chat with you. And I didn't know, bro. I didn't know, there was there's degrees of similarity between your journey and my journey too, until this
Awesome.
chat. Genuinely inspired, bro. Genuinely excited about this next venture where you can digitize it, right? And hand people the keys to make their own decisions. Because they're the ones who care about the success of it the most, right? This feels aligned with our chats in the last year or so. It feels so aligned with this is your theme, this is what you care about, and you're solving the same problem, but on a greater scale and in different ways for people. And that's bro, congrats, bro. Big ups to those highs and downs in your moments. And bro, you know, you figure out what did I go wrong? How do I turn this around? And you reiterated, bro, you're a born entrepreneur, bro. This is what it is. Yeah.
I don't really know any other way now.
Yeah.
I don't know. My wife's, I don't know, just as you're speaking, it just makes me think of her. She's an incredibly strong woman as well. And I don't know, feel like anything in life is recoverable and solvable.
Yeah.
Just got to have the right mindset and just accept things as they are. Don't fight reality.
Yeah. And my last question, bro, is, if you were to give yourself one piece of advice that young Gerrick in his bro, what would you say to him right now?
Young Gerrick in his early what? Sorry, you cut out.
In his early 20s, what would you say to him, bro? What would you tell
him? I don't know. He needed a bit of help. He needed a bit of love. He needed a bit of like positivity.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just try and read.
Yeah.
Read a lot.
Yeah.
I don't read that much anymore, if I'm honest. I felt like I've read so much, and the themes are pretty consistent between the books. Once you've read a few hundred of them, the themes are pretty consistent. I'm not at all like I have been reading books. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got 4 kids and a business, and my time is extremely limited. But read, discover stuff outside of yourself, question your own thinking.
Yeah, bro.
And then figure out who you are. That's the big thing. Figure out who you are, and then follow that.
Well, kill it, bro. Oh, again, I'm so inspired, and really appreciate your vulnerability, bro. It's sharing all the ups and downs. Like the highs and lows, eh? And bro, like like when we got investment, the investors say that they don't invest in the business, but they invest in the people, bro. But if I wasn't, I'd invest in you, bro. I'll back you. So.
Oh yeah, can I have some money?
Check it your way, bro. I'm waiting for
Yeah.
Trickle to blow off, bro, so I can put that money into new features. I got some ideas myself.
Oh, nice. We'll just put my bank account number at the bottom in the show notes of this podcast, and anyone that wants to put money in, that's all good. Yeah.
So you can find Gerrick and the bank account details below.
Yeah.
Too good, bro. Is there anything else
Awesome.
you want to say? You want to share? Are you okay?
No. I like you. I mean, I like your energy, man. I like what you're doing. I got a lot of respect for what you're doing.
Thanks,
thank you for talking to me. It was an enjoyable experience to recount some of those stories. And if anyone does listen to this, I mean, it's just believe in yourself. You'll get there eventually.
Yeah, bro.
And don't expect it to be easy. It's not easy.
Don't we know what All right, brother. Have a good one, eh?
Man,
it's so good to have you. So good to have the podcast. Sure, bro. Keep killing it, eh? Keep me posted on this new venture, bro. It sounds exciting as, eh? It sounds really exciting.
Yeah, well, 100%. It gets a lot of good feedback, man. It's awesome. Like most people I talk to are like, yep, that's mint. Yep.
You're doing it the right way, bro. You're talking to people first. figuring out what you need so that you can help them, So you're doing the right way, bro. It's really cool.
Easy. Thanks, man. Speak to you
Gotta
soon.
get there, brother. Thanks for your time,
Cheers.
bro.